Calmness and insight. There are two words that Luangpor always mentions, mindfulness and awareness. Both are like twins. They are interchangeable, help each other, and always come together. Mindfulness is that which recalls. For example, you are moving your hands, but you forget that you are doing it because your mind is distracted. Then, you remember that you should be attentive to your hand movement. That capacity to recall is mindfulness. Mindfulness recalls and brings your mind back to the action of your hands. When your mind is attentive to your hands, or to any activity, you become aware of your body, aware of yourself. This is awareness. Once you are aware of any activity, you know what should be done as far as that activity is concerned. This is clear comprehension, another function of awareness. When you are aware of an object and attentive to it, your mind becomes increasingly collected and composed, thus enhancing concentration. Awareness also gives rise to and strengthens mindfulness. Sometimes, while you are supposed to be aware of your body's movement, your mind becomes distracted. Awareness of your body's movement sometimes helps your mind to recall that you must be mindful of your body, and that's why it can help to bring your mind back. It awakens mindfulness, bringing back the mind. For example, when you are listening to someone's speech, you rub your fingers. You may be distracted by the environment, by your worries or your concerns about something else. Suddenly, you feel the sensation of your fingers, and the sensation helps you to remember that you should be listening to the talk. So, mindfulness becomes function and brings your mind back to the talk, to be attentive to it. This is how awareness helps mindfulness to function, or take place. Mindfulness, awareness, and concentration are closely related. Mindfulness gives rise to awareness, awareness gives rise to concentration, and vice versa. They help each other, enhancing each other. Don't be confused when Luangpor sometimes mentions mindfulness, and a few moments later he mentions awareness or mindfulness and awareness. They are the same. Technically they are not the same, but in practice they work very closely together. Briefly speaking, mindfulness brings the mind back to the activity or meditation object. Once your mind is with the object, you have awareness, you know and you see clearly. With the functions of mindfulness and awareness as I mentioned, two things will occur. The first is calmness. It arises because you are not distracted by thoughts or by external stimulation. Your mind does not wander around because your mind is attentive to, or tied to, the meditation object. Thoughts may arise in your mind, but they are short and do not disturb you much. You may feel hot, you may feel cold, but it does not give rise to anger or upset you, because mindfulness brings you out of the anger or negative qualities, and back to the object of meditation. But, if you do not have an object of meditation, your mind can easily be caught in the anger, that is the result of unpleasant feelings. So, mindfulness and awareness help you to let go or be free from the discontentment. That is why calmness and relaxation are possible for the one who has mindfulness. The second thing that happens when you have mindfulness is wisdom, or clarity of mind. It happens because mindfulness and awareness keep your mind from liking or disliking, from being up or down, from being content or discontent. They keep your mind stable and without bias. If you have preferences, if you are discriminative and like or dislike, you have bias and you cannot see things clearly as they really are. This will not be the case if you have mindfulness. For example, when anger arises, you will not be caught up in it, you will distance yourself from it and see the anger. You do not reject anger, but just see it. You can see how it exists and how it passes away. But, if you get into the anger, you cannot see, and you cannot know the anger. Just as when you are in this hall, you cannot see what this hall looks like, unless you go outside, only then can you see what the Kuan Yin hall looks like. You have to be outside so that you can see clearly what or where it is. How can you be outside the anger if you do not have mindfulness? Mindfulness helps you to be outside the thought and see it as really is. That is why Luangpor always emphasizes that, you have to see. You should know. You should not be lost in any kind of thoughts, be they good or bad, of pleasure or pain, so that you can see and know. Truth will reveal itself. In short, as I mentioned, there are two kinds of results that will take place, calmness and insight, or wisdom. Yet, you should bear in mind that calmness is not the primary aim of this meditation. The primary aim is insight. If you take calmness as the primary objective, it is easy for you to become lost in calmness, and then you cannot even see what it is. Just recognize that calmness is like this, when it manifests itself, and do not be overjoyed with it. Just see that that's the way it is, and then try to maintain your mind to see, to be clear, keep knowing, keep observing. That's all. This is just to make a brief distinction between mindfulness and awareness, and to highlight their main functions as well as how they work together. Practically, they have more functions than what I have just mentioned. July 10, 1997. The point of balance. As you may be aware, Luangpor tries to suggest that you not watch your mind or watch your body closely. There are some justifications for that. In our daily life we tend to do a few things at the same time. You should allow your mind to be aware of your whole body rather than only a particular part of it. Otherwise, you may make mistakes in your activities. For example, when I began my practice, one day, I finished my lunch and had to throw the leftovers into the waste basket. Since I did not know how to practice properly, I forced my mind to concentrate only on my feet, while I was walking to the waste basket. When I arrived at the basket, I threw the leftovers into the basket, and forgot that not only the leftovers but the fork and spoon were also thrown away. Why? Because I concentrated too much on my feet. I did not allow my mind to be aware of my whole body, to be aware of the act of holding the plate with the leftovers and the fork and spoon. If you force your mind to concentrate only on one part of your body, you limit your awareness to that part and forget the rest. There is another story of a practitioner, who wanted to concentrate on every act of her movement in detail. Before she went to the office she had to get dressed. She concentrated on her act of dressing very consciously and very intensely. When she took the shirt, she concentrated on it. While wearing the shirt, she also concentrated on every movement of the wearing. The same applied to putting on her trousers, her socks, and her shoes. When she went to work, it took more than an hour for her to realize that she forgot to zip her trousers. It's okay if you walk with too much concentration in a walking meditation, it's not much of a problem because you only have one act. Yet in reality, you have many acts at the same time. You walk and you hold something in your hands. When you drive a car, you have to look at the road, and control the steering and the speed with your hands and legs. These require your total awareness. Focusing your mind on only one particular part of your body will cause problems. I have spoken only of the physical aspect or the aspect of the body activities so far. This principle also applies to the mental aspect. If you force your mind to watch your mind closely, you tend to block your thoughts. When there is no thought, you do not learn how to let go of it. You should allow thoughts to arise, so that you learn how to let go of the thoughts or emotions. If you block your mind, the thoughts cannot arise, and then you do not know how to let go of them when they do arise. It is important for you to keep your mind in balance, to not watch or concentrate too closely, nor to let it loose to all distractions. This will enable your mind to be aware of the mind, to be aware of the body, not only of your hands, but the whole of your body and also its surroundings. This is what we should do when we cross the road, especially the road in this country. You have to be aware of the act of walking, and also of the mind. Am I absent-minded? If you are absent-minded while crossing the road, it is very dangerous. You also need to be aware of your surrounding of the car that is coming. So, you have to be aware of three aspects: body, mind, and your surroundings. One can achieve this only if he keeps his mind in the point of balance, neither watching too closely the mind, nor concentrating merely on the body. For the beginners, do not be confused with what I said. Be aware of your body first. Do not pay much attention to the mind or to the thoughts because you have to go step by step. You may be aware of your surrounding at the same time, of the noise or whatever, just be aware with mindfulness. Do not be disturbed by the noise or by visitors that come to talk to you. Just see them as they really are, accept them as that's the way it is. That's all. This is what Luangpor Teean instructed Luangpor Teean 30 years ago. Because Luangpor Teean, at that time, was very good at concentrating his mind on the breath only, and would cut himself off from his surroundings or any kind of thoughts, because he watched closely only the mind. Once, when he was practicing in a closed room with closed windows and a closed door, Luangpor Teean came to interview him. Luangpor Teean did not go into the room but, standing outside the hut, asked, "What are you doing?" Luangpor Teean said, "I am practicing meditation." So Luangpor Teean asked, "Can you see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "No, I cannot see you." Luangpor Teean then asked, "What does it take for you to see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "I have to open the door first." So Luangpor Teean asked him to open the door. At once, he opened the door. Standing at the threshold, Luangpor Teean asked, "Now, do you see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "Yes, now I see you." "Can you see inside the room?" Luangpor Teean replied, "Yes, I can see inside." "So, now you see both outside and inside, do you not?" Luangpor Teean said, "Yes, I can see both." Luangpor Teean said, "You should practice like this, do not focus your mind only on the inside. In other words, do not turn inward, but be aware of both the outward and the inward, that is the point of balance." So, Luangpor Teean suggested Luangpor Teean not block his mind or turn his mind inwardly, but allow his mind to be aware of the outside and of the whole of himself. This is how this practice is different from many other methods. Many methods try to block your mind. You can achieve concentration very easily with those methods. Yet, once you get out of the practice, your mind can easily be disturbed by thoughts, because you have not trained yourself in how to deal with them. Since the thoughts have been blocked, you have had no chance to be aware of them and thus learn to let go of them. This is how it is different. I just explained the reason behind Luangpor's suggestions. Why not watch closely so that you can develop total awareness during your practice, and apply total awareness during your daily life. July 10, 1997. Reconciliation. There are two fundamentals of practice. The first is to practice with relaxation. The second is to take it seriously. These two fundamentals are very important for the practice. The point is how you can reconcile them. When I first practiced, I felt it very difficult. I felt confused when Luangpor Teean said, "Be at ease, but take it seriously." He always stressed these words. Literally, he said, in Thai, "Do it playfully, but seriously." To do it playfully means that you have to be at ease when you practice, and to be at ease at the present moment. To take it seriously means you have to continue your practice all day, all week, all month, and all year. This is what he meant. To take it seriously means you have to continue it, neither giving it up nor stopping it. I think this is the art of the practice, how to reconcile the two opposing values, the two opposing principles. Both principles are good, but on some level they are contradictory. As you may remember, in the first few days, I talked about the middle way. The middle way is the practice that avoids the two extremes. The two extremes are bad, so we have to avoid them. That is the middle way. Yet, at the same time, there are two principles, two values, that are both good, but in opposition to each other. We have to reconcile them to make them in harmony. These are the arts of the practitioner. 1. You have to avoid the two extremes because both are bad, and 2. You have to harmonize the two values. These two arts are different. Sometimes people are confused, they think the middle way is to mix good and bad, and then divide it in two. That is not the middle way. The middle way is to avoid the two extremes and, at the same time, reconcile the two values, the two principles. In Buddhism, you will find that this art is very necessary. You have to reconcile faith and wisdom. Those who have too much faith always lack wisdom, those who have wisdom always lack faith, because they always criticize, always doubt, always feel uncertain. So the Buddha taught us to reconcile these two principles, do not miss any of them, but combine them in harmony. The same applies to diligence or earnestness and calmness. If you are too diligent, you tend to lack calmness or concentration, but if you develop too much concentration, you tend to be indolent. Again, you have to combine, or reconcile, concentration and diligence. Now, let us go back to what Luangpor Teean always mentioned, to practice relaxed, but seriously. It means that when you practice you should feel that you are taking a rest. When you walk, it is not much different from a morning walk or evening walk, in the sense that you do not expect much from such a walk. When you have a morning walk you do not expect much from the walk, do you? That is the attitude that we should apply to the practice. When you take something lightly, you do not worry about it, which enables you to feel joy and be relaxed in doing that work. Since you are not worried with the outcome, your mind can easily get into the balance. Since you are not worried about the outcome, and also have joy in doing the work, you can do it continually. You are not frightened with the work or become turned off by it. When children play, they can play all day and all night without being tired, because they feel joy and do not expect much from their play. Yet, if you ask them to do their homework, you turn them off because there are a lot of expectations from the teachers, from themselves and from their parents. There are standards against which the outcome has to be compared, and this always frightens, or turns off, people. That's why I asked you not to set any standards, any goals, or have any expectations. Do not set the goal that you will not be distracted in the next 10 minutes. You cannot do that, just be concerned with the present moment. If you are worried about the outcome, your mind is already in the future, the outcome is in the realm of the future. If you are concerned only with the cause, the practice, you are already in the present, the cause is what you have to make, and you can only make it in the present moment. If you can have this approach to the walking meditation, or to any kind of meditation, you will find that this approach or attitude is very helpful to your daily life. In daily life, we always have problems with our work, we are very tense and frustrated because we worry so much about the future, the outcome, or the reaction or response of people. Sometimes we are worried because we want ourselves to reach a goal as soon as possible. When we drive a car, we may feel unhappy because we want our car to reach the destination as early as possible. If you have such thoughts, you cannot drive the car relaxed or with happiness, especially when you are late. You feel upset and frustrated. The desire to reach the destination as soon as possible becomes like a fire that burns your mind. Remind yourself to pay attention to the present moment. It does not help at all if I am worried about being late, because it does not make me reach the destination faster or sooner than if I am not worried. The worry itself does not help, it does not change the situation. What you should be concerned about is trying to driving the car properly and as best as you can, because this is the only way that you can arrive at the destination without delay. So in real life you have to be at the present moment, and not allow the mind to be occupied by expectations or by the future. The attitude that causes suffering to a lot of people, especially people of today, is the expectation of getting the result or reaching the destination as soon as possible. When I write a book, if I think that it will take one more year or one more month to finish the job, I feel worried, because it's still a long time and I am tired already. Yet, if I bring my mind back to the work that I am doing at the moment, I feel less worried, and concentration takes place easily, because being at the present moment brings you calmness and concentration, and can enable you to continue your work without much problem. I think we have to learn how to do work without pushing or driving us at the same time. Just do whatever has to be done. If you do it continually, it is certain that work will produce results. My friend, a Zen monk, spoke about his master. Some of you may have heard of him, Shunryu Suzuki. Shunryu Suzuki is the author of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. He has a center in San Francisco. When he started the temple in San Francisco 30 years ago, he had to do everything with his own hands. One of his big jobs was to prepare the garden. A Zen garden is composed of rocks, a lot of big rocks. Shunryu Suzuki is not a big person. He is just like Luangpor, but thinner. All day, he had to carry the heavy rocks to his garden and arrange them. His young Western disciple wanted to help, but after a few hours, he was tired. "Oh, I can no longer do this." He asked Suzuki, his master, "How could you do this all day?" Suzuki said, "I take a rest all day." When he lifted the rock, he just lifted it without much expectation that he had to carry 20 or 30 rocks a day. He did not set a goal, but just lifted the rock without judgment or expectation. His mind was with the rock and with himself, not anywhere else. He felt relaxed, which is why he said that he rested all day and could continue. He was serious about his rock garden, but he did it relaxed. It's as Luangpor Teean said, practice playfully, but take it seriously. To be at ease enables you to work longer than when you take it seriously. Sometimes you drive a slow car, and you can arrive the destination sooner than those who drive at a fast speed. The same is true when you walk up a mountain. Those who do not know how to climb a mountain start climbing fast, and end up reaching the top later than those who walk slower. The meditation master or the hill tribe people just walk slowly, relaxed all the time, relaxed every step, and they reach the top before those who are serious or walk hastily. The practice is the same. Just walk, as you walk, simply walk, and take a rest every step. You will find that you are not tired after you walk the whole day or the whole week, because you take a rest with every step. Please apply this to your daily life. Not only in the spiritual aspect. Take Suzuki as an example. Even in the material or physical world, you need to apply this art, the art of reconciling the two principles, relaxed but seriously. You will find that in the real world this is really important. Individualism and responsibility to the community are the two principles you have to reconcile. In this country, they stress only individualism, and you have a lot of crime, a lot of drug addiction, etc., because people have lost the sense of communal responsibility. Individualism and responsibility to the community are both important. Right and duty are two opposite values that you should reconcile. The pursuit of happiness and virtues are both values. You cannot discard either of them. If you pursue happiness while ignoring virtues, you create problems for other people. If you are attached too much to virtues, you have no happiness because you are always afraid that you will offend other people, and you make yourself tense. Freedom and order are another example. Freedom is good, but order is good too. Yet, if you stress freedom, no order can take place. If you are too much concerned with order or discipline, freedom might be affected. So you have to reconcile these opposing values. This can be done if you learn this art from the practice. I myself have learned a lot from the practice. Because this art is very crucial for the practice, if you cannot learn it, it will be very difficult to achieve the practice. Please take this practice as a way to train your mind to have a skillful approach to your life, not only to meditation but to your whole life, to your family, to your work, and also to society as a whole. This is what I would like to offer this morning. July 11, 1997. Dealing with expectations. Let me elaborate on expectations' relationship to the practice, just to clarify this morning's talk. When I said that we should not have expectations during the practice, I did not mean that we should suppress or try to stop our expectation. This cannot be done because we come here with expectation, and expectation is inherent in our practice. I just want to say that despite our expectations, we should not allow them to bother us during our practice, let ourselves be preoccupied with them, or let them drive our practice. Just realize that, okay, the expectations are there, but there is no more than that. It should be noted that the progress of spiritual practice is most developed when expectations are at their lowest, or we have none at all. For example, after Buddha's death, Ananda tried hard to develop his practice to the level of Arahant, the last level of enlightenment. He had only one day left to finish his practice, before the first council was going to start. This was crucial because he was supposed to attend the council, but only the Arahant could attend. There were already 499 Arahants. The council was waiting for him, but he had to meet the requirement of being an Arahant. He had not yet achieved it, and there were only about 20 hours left. So he tried a lot that whole day, but he still could not achieve the final stage of enlightenment. Finally, at night, he was tired and decided to take a rest by a tree. The moment he leaned against tree trunk, at the moment when he felt that he wanted to relax, enlightenment took place. At that moment, his expectation was very low, either because he felt hopeless or because he just wanted to relax. I think the experiences of other enlightened beings are just the same. They get enlightenment or receive intuitive insight, when their minds are relaxed and in harmony with the present moment. Some of Luangpor Teean's disciples got insight while they were harvesting the crops, obviously with mindfulness. This law of enlightenment, or law of intuitive insight, also applies to the world of scientists and the world of daily life. You may have heard of the story about Eureka and Archimedes. He tried to find the law of density and he could not find it, until the moment he got himself into the bathtub. At that moment, he felt relaxed. After working all day, he just wanted to take a good bath. The moment he submerged himself in the bathtub, he realized the law of displacement, which is crucial for the calculation of the density of objects. If you want to know the density of this chair, you put it into water, calculate the volume of the water that overflows, or is displaced, the weight of the water and the weight of this chair, and then you know the density of the chair. So, the word Eureka, or the intuitive knowledge of Archimedes, arose when he had no expectation. The same applies to Newton. He found the law of gravity when he was going to relax under the apple tree. An apple fell. He realized the law of gravity. At that time, he had just put aside his research, so his expectations were very low at that moment. You see how intuitive knowledge works. It works when expectations are very low, and especially when you are very mindful in that present moment. So, the point is how you can practice without the drive of expectation, the drive of desire. This is a problem because we are usually driven by desire or expectation. In Buddhism there are two kinds of motivation. The first is desire to get or desire to achieve. The second is zeal, you want to do, or you want to practice. There is a difference between the two. Desire is closely related to craving, and zeal is closely related to wisdom. With zeal, you realize that it is good, so you want to do it. Zeal is the desire to do, not the desire to get, not the desire to achieve but the desire to do. Buddhism does not say that you should not want. Yes, you should have wants. You should have the want to do, but not the desire to achieve or the desire to get. So, please learn to use zeal as the motivation for your practice. You see with your wisdom that meditation practice is good. It is not to satisfy your ego that you do it, but because it is good for yourself and for others. Then, you start practicing. Yet, for a lot of people, it is difficult to develop zeal, because desire always dominates their minds. That is okay. We have to accept the way it is. We have to accept that we have desires and expectations. But again, once we start walking, once we start moving our hands, it is time to turn our attention to our body's movements, and leave our expectations and desires behind. Submerge yourself in the present moment, in the act of walking, in the act of moving. When you get the results of the practice, you will have confidence in the practice, and you will see for yourself, oh, this practice is good. You develop zeal because you have seen for yourself the results of the practice. This is how zeal is developed. You see it yourself, with your mind, oh, this is good. So you develop the inclination to practice, and this time you practice without the drive of expectation. You enjoy doing it, so you just do it. Enjoyment is the result of your zeal. If you enjoy something, you do it. You do not mind what will happen. I like it. I enjoy it. So, I do it. There is no more than that. Find out how you can enjoy the practice. The more you enjoy it, the more you will practice it relaxed and at ease, and the more you will get results. The more you get results, the more you become confident, and then you will just do it. We do not need the drive of expectation or the drive of desire. I think this is the motivation that people lack. We are taught that only desire can drive people to do things. Actually, there is another motivation that can get us to work. Zeal as a Buddhist motivation is very important, not only in meditation but in any kind of work. This is what I would like to offer you for reflection. In summary, how should we deal with expectations? First, accept them for what they are. Accept that expectations exist in our minds, but do not let them bother our practice, or pay much attention to them. Just be at the present moment with the work you are going to do, and do not allow yourself to be driven by expectations. Try to develop the other kind of motivation, zeal. With the right motivation, you will find that results arise not in the future, but at the present moment. Normally, people just wait for the future, wait for the results to come. If you have a positive approach, a positive mind, you will see results, and the outcome always comes at the present moment. Please be sensitive to the immediate results, that always take place but that we always ignore. As Luangpor always says, once you move your hands, you already get the outcome, the awareness. You need not wait for the future. It has already arisen, but you have to be aware of that. That's why we can be happy at the present moment, because we get results at the present moment. We do not need to wait for the future. It is too risky to wait for the future is uncertain. But, the immediate result is guaranteed by our practice. That's all for this afternoon. July 11, 1997. Unreliable thoughts. I am sure that you all have a lot of experience with thoughts and emotions. Some of you may be able to see the thoughts themselves. You may realize that these thoughts, emotions, and feelings are quite unstable, which is why they are uncontrollable and unreliable. But, despite their instability, thoughts and emotions have a lot of power to tempt us, because they need our attention to sustain themselves. Without our attention, thoughts and emotions just fade away. They need your attention, it is the only requirement for their survival. You know, it is as if thought has a life of its own, despite its instability. It is like a virus that tries to manipulate your cells, drawing support from you. If you are not aware of such nature of thoughts and emotions, you can be easily tempted by them, deceived by them. They try to lure you, saying, "Hey, I am you." My thoughts call me, saying, "I am Paisan, I am yours, so you should take care of me." Sometimes I am tempted to take them to be my belongings, because they are very smart thoughts, very intelligent thoughts. I would like to grasp them, but you have to be careful, not to rush and grab them. Do not believe them so quickly because they are unreliable, especially the unintentional ones. We cannot even believe the good thoughts, for they can play tricks on us too, if we are not mindful enough. There is a story about a person who enjoyed drinking, and tried to give it up but failed. Every time he passed the bar on his way home, he could not resist his desire, the temptation, to go inside and have a drink. He tried to resist many times but failed. One day, he was determined that he would not fail himself anymore, so he prayed to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha, and to all the other deities, after he finished his job in the office. He felt quite strong after he had asked for help from everyone to increase his willpower. When he approached the bar, the temptation arose, but he tried to deny it. No, this time no. But on his first step in front of the bar, a thought arose, hey, why don't I have a last drink? No, no, no. I can't, he said to himself. On the second step, hey, okay, not a full cup, only half a cup. No, he said, and he proceeded. The bar was not very big, but those few moments seemed to last a very long time. Then, another thought came up, okay, 1/4. Better not, said a voice in his mind. Suddenly, his friend in the bar called, hey, come come. Again, he refused. But then he thought, hey, it will break the friendship if I refuse his offer. But, he was still determined not to drink. Thoughts of every rationale you can imagine flashed through his mind. Nevertheless, he finally passed the store. I've done it. I am the winner. He was suffused with a sense of victory. Suddenly, a thought came up, hey, let's celebrate the victory. He then turned back to the bar. Thoughts can trick us. They are very rational, and can turn even victory into disaster. We should not believe them but try to see them, so we do not fall into their trap. So, mindfulness is very important even in daily life. Every year many old women would come to see Ajahn Chah, a big master in northeastern Thailand, and ask his permission for them to stay at the temple, because they had quarreled with their husbands. Everybody would say, I will stay here for life. I will not go back to my house anymore. I am fed up with him. No more. I am disenchanted with the household life. Please allow me to stay and practice with you. A few days later, the husbands would come, visit them, and ask them to go home. The women who had been determined to stay in the temple for life, would change their minds after a small chat and decide to go home. Even strong, powerful, and quite determined thoughts can disappear, or wear out, after a few days passed. You may have noticed that you have a lot of good thoughts or ideas during the practice. I want to do this, I want to do that, after I go home I will do this, I will do that. But if you do not jump into that thought or idea, and just see it and ignore it, after a few hours or a few days, you will find that that thought becomes weak and is not as interesting anymore. When you have a beautiful or great idea, you need to remind yourself, it is not sure. This is the third mantra I will give you. Do you remember the first two mantras? Never mind and, that's the way it is. Now, the third one, it is not sure, or is that so? If you reach some conclusion about someone, like, this guy is very bad, this guy is unfaithful to me, this guy is deceiving me, or this guy is very good, he is very generous, you should say the mantra to yourself, is that so, or that is not sure. If it is a real thought, a real judgment and the right conclusion, it will last. Otherwise, it will waver and weaken. So try to see thoughts as they really are, unstable, uncontrollable, and unreliable. Unless they are born out of wisdom or mindfulness, they are completely unreliable. This is just the first step of insight into the nature of thoughts. During the practice, you may reach this understanding, and later you will see the deeper characteristics of thoughts and emotions. Luangpor repeats many times, they are impermanent. They are unsatisfactory. They are not self. Even happiness, pleasant feelings, or the bliss from meditation, are ultimately unsatisfactory. After you have been absorbed by joy for a while, you will feel that it is not enough. You want more. If you attain the first absorption, in the first few days, you feel very happy. Later, you find that you want more. You want the second absorption. You want more and more, because your level of happiness has increased. You need more happiness to satisfy your new higher standards and expectations. It will never end. But if you are mindful enough, and do not fall into the trap of happiness or pleasant feelings, you will feel content. You will have contentment. You will know what self-contentment, modesty, and moderation mean. Moderation is possible only for those who have mindfulness. Otherwise, you just need more, and it will never end. This is about unsatisfactory. The last characteristic is selflessness or no self, which is very important. You may be able to understand this, when you see that the thoughts you have are not really yours. If you are mindful enough, you will see that this is not my thought, this is not my emotion. But without mindfulness, you tend to grasp it, taking it as your own. We are likely to take it to be me, to be mine. This is mine, this belongs to myself. This thought is my thought. If you disagree with my thought, you disagree with me. You take it personally. A lot of problems arise because of such disputes. When your friend disagrees with an idea which you take to be yours, to be yourself, you tend to be angry. Since you feel that he or she is questioning you. But, if you take this idea as just an idea presented by you without attachment to it, it does not matter at all if your friend disagrees with your idea. With your practice, you keep being aware of the thought, you see it come and go, arise and cease, occur and pass away. If you try to grasp or maintain beautiful feelings or pleasant emotions, they will resist your attempt. You will realize that they are uncontrollable and not yours. They cannot be yours. If you have this insight, you will understand why we cannot and should not believe our thoughts, because they just come and go, they have no self. This is what Luangpor tries to instruct you, but you do not need to rush or try to have such insight. If you repeatedly take notice of your thoughts, if you know them and are aware of them, the insight will come by itself. The nature or the characteristic of thoughts and emotions, or all mental states, will be apparent to you. That's why Luangpor says, the truth will reveal itself. Our job is to obtain or sustain awareness. So just stay aware and the process will lead you to the truth. That's all for this morning. July 12, 1997. Meditators for Friends. According to the Buddha, there are 4 very good friends who help each other and also are very helpful to us: mindfulness, sati, awareness, sampajanya, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya. If you are skillful, you can use these 4 friends, or these 4 virtues, to handle a disturbed mind or distracted thoughts. You have already been introduced to mindfulness and awareness, and know how to deal with distracted thoughts, that is to be aware and mindful of these thoughts or emotions. Once these thoughts are recognized by our awareness, they just fade away. It is as if you come face to face with a burglar about to steal something from your house. You see him and he becomes frightened and disappears. Or, it is like a dog. Suppose we visit a friend's house, and his dog is barking and going to bite us. If we just call out the name of the dog, it will stop. This is how mindfulness and awareness work together, to keep you from being attacked or hurt by distracted thoughts. Yet, sometimes the burglar is very big and you are very small. You saw him face to face but he just knocked you down. So if the thoughts are very powerful and your mindfulness is still weak, it is not appropriate for your mindfulness to face such powerful thoughts. It is better for you to turn your back on these thoughts. Just ignore them. This will be helpful for beginners. That's why Luangpor suggests that in the beginning stage you just be aware of your body, and do not pay much attention to your thoughts. Ignore all thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and just pay attention to your body. In some situations, concentration may be necessary for us to handle powerful thoughts or emotions. Concentration, in this case, means fixing our mind on something that can turn our attention from distracted thoughts. Normally, object of concentration we prefer is that which is attractive to our mind. For example, if you get angry and want to get rid of the anger, you may find it easy to turn your mind or your attention from anger to music, toys, or whatever gives you pleasure. If you are attentive enough to the object that you have chosen to be attentive to, a few minutes or a few hours later, you will find that the anger has disappeared. Anger, like any emotion or thought, is like fire, it needs fuel. Normally, it is sustained because we ourselves keep adding fuel to the fire, so it keeps burning. If we turn our attention to something else, or do not put firewood into the fire will be extinguished because there is no wood to consume. Yet, in reality, we cannot depend on music or something external to us all the time, because anger can take place anytime, in the subway, or during a conversation. So we need to depend on ourselves, by choosing those we already have as objects for concentration. That is why the master suggests you use the breath or your body's movement as the object of meditation. When you feel disturbed by thoughts or emotions, you should just turn your mind back to the breath or your body's movement. Gradually, the thoughts or disturbing emotions just disappear. In the beginning, the breath or your body's movement is not powerful enough to attract your mind. It is less attractive than music, sports, etc. Yet, if you practice enough, your mind will become familiar with the breath or your body's movement, and it can be in harmony or as one with them easily. The fourth friend is wisdom. This has a lot of meaning. When you become distracted by your thoughts and do not know how to deal with them, you may try to bargain with them. You may say to yourself, "Okay, I will talk with you later," or "I will think this thought later, but not now." You negotiate with them. To bargain with the thoughts, saying, "After this retreat I will recall you again, but not now," is a technique you can use to reduce the thoughts. Normally, only the advanced practitioner can use wisdom to handle the thoughts, because it is a method that requires one to come face to face with one's thoughts and emotions. If your mindfulness is not powerful enough, your thoughts or emotions will just trap you, or trick you, persuading you to fall into them. In Thailand, masters have a practice of going into the forest alone. We call it tudong. It means to live as an ascetic in the forest or in the cemetery. A lot of things may happen: fear, the beast, tigers, or elephants can attack the practitioner. Many masters find that the fear or threat from the wild animals is good instrument, good condition, or great situation, to pressure them to develop concentration, because if they turn their attention from the breath to the beast, they will be overwhelmed by fear. Because they are really afraid of the beast, their minds turn inward, developing concentration a lot. So masters use the threatening situation to force their minds to look inwards. This is a skillful and unusual way of developing concentration and mindfulness. One master, Ajahn Chah, tried to look into the fear to investigate it. When the powerful fear arose, he investigated the fear and asked himself, "What are you afraid of?" A voice replied, "I am afraid of death." Then he asked himself, "If you don't die today, won't you still die tomorrow?" "Everybody has to die, today or tomorrow," he replied. So, he asked again, "Why should I be afraid? Everybody has to die." This enabled him to face death at that moment with peacefulness. Some masters in that situation just keep asking, "What am I afraid of?" "I am afraid of the tiger." "Which part of the tiger are you afraid of, the tail, the ears, the eyes, the legs, or the claws?" "No, I am not afraid of the tail, nor the ears, nor the eyes, nor the legs, nor the claws." "So, what are you afraid of?" "I don't know." With such penetration by wisdom, fearful emotions just pass away. They do not use rationalization, but an analytical mind to divide the tiger parts, and they do not feel fearful. But as Luangpor says, if you have insights into body and mind, into the nature of body and mind, into the temporary state of body and mind, such insights will enable you to go through all problems, distraction, and negative emotions very easily. With a flash of insight, you can go right through them, you have no need of questions and answers. If you understand that these mental states are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self, the thoughts are there but they are not me, they are not mine, you become detached from them and they lose the power to tempt you. This is how wisdom works to solve problems. This is just a summary of how to use the different means of dealing with the enemies of the mind. We are like warriors, we need to know many kinds of weapons to deal with our enemies. If you only know one weapon, it is not enough to handle different kinds of problems. In fact, a sense of humor can help you too. If you take any given thought too seriously, you will get into trouble, but if you make fun of it or have a sense of humor, you feel more light-hearted. You can laugh at it, as Luangpor always says, laugh at your thoughts and tell yourself not to be crazy with them. That is also helpful. For example, when you are disturbed by the noise of building construction, visualize the face of the man who is doing the job. Oh, what a poor man! We will have no hostility toward him, but rather pity him. Please learn how to use various techniques, or virtues, for your own benefit, for your own spiritual practice. Nevertheless, I am not much worried about the problems that we face, because when we have problems, we tend to be careful. It is when we are happy that we tend to be careless, and drop our guards like the alcoholic man in the story that I told you earlier. He was very careful when he walked past the bar, which is why a lot of temptations could not persuade him to drink. But when he passed the store, he became proud. Oh, I am the victor. I am the winner. At that moment, he became less careful, and the desire to drink tricked him, convincing him to go back to the bar. Please be careful when you achieve some level of spiritual success, when you have insight, or when you attain the well-developed mindfulness. At that moment, you have to be very careful. There is a story that in China, during a talk like this in a temple, there was an earthquake. All the disciples ran away, but the master stayed still in his place, showing no sign of fear. The next day, after the chanting and the Dhamma talk, there was question and answer session. One student asked, "What is mindfulness?" The master replied, "Mindfulness is the ability to be calm in time of danger. For example, did you see me? When there was an earthquake, I could stay still and drink water without showing any signs of fear. Did you see me tremble? No." One student answered, "You did not drink water. You drank soy sauce." So, please be very careful with pride and conceit. They are very dangerous. Conceit is the last obstacle that only the Arahant can get rid of. Be careful. July 12, 1997. Meditation in action. Meditation enables us to be with ourselves, to see ourselves speaks, sometimes silently, sometimes loudly, sometimes frustratedly, and sometimes happily. You can see how silent or how loud your mind is. We need time to converse with ourselves, to see ourselves, because most of the time our attention is turned to our surroundings, to television, to books, to work, or to our families. We do not have much time to be with ourselves, despite the fact that we should be our best friends. The practice of meditation is the way to make yourself your own best friend, as much as it can be. There is another kind of friend, a bad friend, the friend who seems to agree with us all the time, who spoils us without ever resisting or disagreeing with us. This is not a good friend. A good friend is a friend that keeps reminding you of the proper way of living, who keeps reminding you not to be lost in yourself. Mindfulness works like that. It keeps calling your mind not to be spoiled, not to indulge in your thoughts, be they good thoughts or bad thoughts. Those who have mindfulness will be aware of this. You can observe for yourself how long you have already spoiled your mind. You let it be distracted all the time, you never try to call it back to its proper place. You just follow it, and support it. When your mind gets angry, you follow the anger. When your mind is frustrated, you let it dwell on its frustration. You never recall your mind. Sometimes you may try, but you never have enough strength to call it back. Hey, come back. You are indulging in anger. You are lost in anxiety or suffering. Come back. Now, with mindfulness, you will be able to be a good friend to yourself. You will be able to call your mind back to its proper place, to the present moment, to the present activity. We are not going to spoil our minds anymore. We will be able to turn our attention to the place where it can experience non-suffering, be beyond suffering. You may call it happiness, if you like. But if you have insight, you will know that happiness is also a kind of suffering. Suffering is like the head of the snake, happiness is like the tail of the snake. When you touch the tail of the snake, it does not bite you instantly, but later, the snake will turn around and bite you. That is why we should go beyond happiness and suffering, a state that can be achieved with mindfulness. Now, we are able to be our best friend, a noble friend, Galyanamitta. Galyanamitta means noble friend. It is like this with weeds too. Weeds are undesirable in some respects, but if you arrange them properly and skillfully, they can live peacefully with the flowers, and become part of a beautiful garden. Weeds are not useless all the time, in some situations they are very beneficial. They become herbs or decorative plants in the garden. Learn how to arrange the ugliness or the undesirable qualities in your life properly and skillfully, so they can be transformed from harmful to beneficial properties. Anger can be transformed, anxiety can be transformed, jealousy can be transformed, hatred can be transformed, but these transformations are not possible, if you do not know how to come to terms with them. So this is how we can be our best friend, to not regard ourselves as the enemy. A lot of people hate themselves. They cannot bear themselves because they find a lot of bad things in themselves. That is the kind of relationship that we should avoid, the kind of experience that we should avoid. Use mindfulness or awareness to accept, and use these bad things for both the benefit of your spiritual well-being and your daily life. I would like to encourage you to continue the practice after the retreat, in whatever way you prefer or is suitable to you. As you know, there are two ways of practice, formal and informal. You should combine these two ways of practice. In fact, informal practice is very useful. It is very powerful for us, especially for lay people, but even for monks, because we spend so much time in our lives informally. Just think, in our lifetimes, we spend about 7 years altogether in the bathroom. Incredible, but it is true, 7 years in our bathroom. If you use 7 years for the whole practice, that is wonderful. A retreat of 7 days is small compared to the 7 years in the bathroom. You meditate in the bathroom, whatever you do, whether it be brushing your teeth, taking a bath, urinating, or excreting, can be the act or form for mindfulness. You can breathe with mindfulness when you are on the toilet, or just rub your fingers. You can improve greatly if you are mindful in the bathroom. Do not belittle it. In fact, the time spent in the bathroom is only a small portion of our lives. We spend much more time on the street or in the office. Please integrate mindfulness into your daily life. Take every opportunity for mindfulness, even try to choose something as a sign to recall your mind back, for example, the traffic light when you cross the road. Most people prefer the green light and do not like the red one, right? When we face a red light, we are disturbed. We want to go through, we do not want to stop at the crossing. Please regard the red light as the sign to stop your distracted thoughts, or to call your mind back to the breath, or to your hands that are holding the steering wheel. Just rub your fingers or follow your breath mindfully with awareness during the red light. When you hear the telephone ring, do not rush to it suddenly. Wait for a while. For people in primitive countries, for people in villages, it is quite strange that we are so stimulated or sensitive to telephone rings, we just go instinctively. Why are you so reactive to that? You should be mindful of yourself. You should know when to walk to the telephone gracefully. So, let it ring for a few times, then just walk calmly to it, or use it as a sign to call your mind back first. Do not react to it suddenly or hastily. So you can choose many events in the chaos of your daily life as instruments for your mindfulness, be they noises, sights, odors, or sounds. This is how we apply informal practice to our daily life.
May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born,